final advice is that podcasts are here to stay, and there will be room enough for everybody who wants to get into it. It's going to be here to stay because, like streaming video, podcast puts the consumer, the listener, in control. I get to choose what I want to listen to, when I want to listen to it. And that's something that consumers love time and time again. Give them the control and they'll be there. So podcasts are around.
If you decide to get into it, make sure that you know why you're getting into it. Make sure you're crystal clear on your objectives. And in order to be successful, you want to make sure that what you're doing is something that your audience just can't live without. So find that person who can be active about what you're doing and have fun with it.
Yeah, just kind of spinning off that, something I said earlier. I mean, really just kind of find something that is authentically you. For me, I also wanted to engage in a subject that I think is difficult and challenging, something that I know that you were speaking to, Jane. And I find that in an environment like this, people are willing to be receptive to something that's challenging when they're not put front and center. They're allowed to hear something and kind of sneak a peek into somebody else's life. And for me, that's the passion I have. And if you're going to get into this, I would think that you would need a similar type of passion.
4 at 4 Forums will be starting right after this. Welcome everyone to the 4 at 4 Forums, and with us today is guest host Paul Piazza, music director, and also Amy Commans. Paul, take it away.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, Mike. I am so excited to be here today, stepping in for Amy Commans. We hope she'll be able to join us later on in the show. My name is Paul Piazza. I am the music director at 4 at 4 Forums, and I'm really excited to bring to you a trio of incredible doctors who have many amazing things to talk about healthcare. These days we're all talking about COVID all the time, but today we're talking about beyond COVID. Fabulous advances in biotechnology, cardiovascular health sciences beyond COVID-19. So we'll get to that in just a moment. But before we do, some beautiful piano music by Jason Stoll, who we will be hearing more from later on in the program later today. So let's get started by meeting our fantastic panel. We have Dr. Ryan Beale, who's the CEO at Thousand Oaks-based Dyve Biosciences, with Gabriella Sherman, doctor and MBA, Chief Medical Officer at Los Robles Health System, and David Gunn, Doctor of Family Medicine at UCLA Health. And we're going to introduce all three of them before we do one more thing. Today's broadcast is brought to you by UCLA Health. UCLA Health is ranked #1 in California. And remember, please wear a mask when you are out in public. Great. We've got that safety advisory PDF up on the screen. So now let's get to our trio of doctors here. Let's get around to the table. Can we start off with Dr. Gunn? Can you give us a little background about you, your name, your title, the companies you've worked with? Tell us about yourself, please.
Well, thanks for the introduction. Yeah, my name's David Gunn, MD, Family Medicine. You can see I'm coming to you live from about 1946 with this black and white camera. It's wonderful. I do family medicine, which many people don't know what family medicine is different than internal medicine, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But I do see all ages of patients, from newborns, babies, teenagers, adolescents, all the way up to grandma and grandpa. So that's a little bit about me.
Fantastic. We have Dr. Gabriella Sherman. Let's hear about you, please.
Hi, yes, Gabriella Sherman. I am an internist by way of background. I was a former hospitalist and associate program director of our residency program, and just recently joined Los Robles a few months ago as their chief medical officer. Excited to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sherman. And then we have Dr. Ryan Beale, our third panelist. Please tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name's Ryan Beale. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be a part of the panel. I'm a physician scientist and entrepreneur, CEO and co-founder of Dyve Biosciences based out here in Thousand Oaks, and it's a pleasure to be a part of the panel.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to do a little bit of a roundtable here. And by the way, I think we have Amy Commans online, so I'm going to hand it over to the actual medical expert, the wonderfully talented Amy Commans. Amy, thank you so much.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, little technical challenges here. Hopefully you guys can see me okay on my phone. That was fun. Talk about being resilient in pandemic times, right? I guess we all have to ebb and flow, bob and weave. It's so good to see all of you. Thank you for bringing me back into the limelight here. Everybody got their introductions in, right?
Yes.
Sounds good. Ryan, super good to see you. Ryan and I go way, way back. And Dr. Gunn and I bonded yesterday, I think, right?
It was great.
Sounds good. Let's get this show on the road. Appreciate it. As Paul graciously introduce me. I am Amy Commans, Vice President, Community Employer and Government Relations at Los Robles Health System. So happy to found a newfound career in healthcare, certainly right here in my own backyard. So Ryan, let's get started with you. Dr. Beal, we're talking beyond COVID today. So the advancements that we're looking forward to in healthcare. I know many, you've lived here for many years, and it's local startups. We're super happy that Thousand Oaks is being known as a biotech hub. Tell us about Dyve and what's most exciting with your company, what's going on right now.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. It's great to see you as well. And I'll just echo what you said. Thousand Oaks and the broader Ventura County area has just become a great ecosystem for the life sciences and healthcare broadly. And I've been fortunate to co-found and found a number of healthcare companies in the area. Most recently, Dyve Biosciences, which I co-founded about 6 years ago now. And Dyve's focused on leveraging the skin as a portal for drug delivery. So we're taking drugs from the surface of the skin deep into the skin and into the bloodstream. And what excites us most is we're doing that with the speed of needles and efficiency of pills. So really allowing a much broader set of drugs to use the skin as a delivery portal, bypass the gut and the associated gastrointestinal side effects associated with many drugs, but do it with the speed of a subcutaneous needle. So that's quite exciting. Our most advanced assets in phase 2 study across the United States as we speak for the study of a novel treatment for acute gout and the pain associated with acute gout. We anticipate wrapping up that trial at the end of this year and then heading on to phase 3 next year.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I'm sure for the layman, myself and those of us probably watching, but certainly for the medical professionals that have joined us today, it is fascinating. I'm super excited. I get to say I knew you when. Very cool, very cool. All right, sounds good. Dr. Sherman, Dr. Gabriella Sherman, new with us at Los Robles Health System. Tell us what's going on at Los Robles beyond COVID. I know we've got a lot of exciting things happening for our cardiovascular patients. First, always to the table in Ventura County for our clinical trials. Mm-hmm. Tell us more what's going on at Los Robles.
Sure, Amy. We know that COVID is likely here to stay for the foreseeable future, and that patients are going to need to access healthcare for both COVID and non-COVID related issues. So Los Robles has really been staying at the cutting edge of various clinical services, particularly in cardiovascular. And actually, just yesterday, we were the first hospital in the United States to implant the brand new Watchman Flex device. This is a device that's used in patients who have atrial fibrillation, which is a very common heart condition. It basically means that the heart muscle doesn't contract regularly and leads to an irregular heartbeat. As a result, these patients have to be on lifelong medications called anticoagulants to reduce the risk of clot formation and to reduce the risk of stroke. And as you can imagine, as the population ages, nobody wants to be on these medications long term. And now we're able to offer a device called the Watchman Flex, and this is done through an outpatient procedure in a cardiac cath lab. It's minimally invasive. Our first patient that had it done yesterday had it done in the morning and was home later that afternoon, well on their way to recovery and no longer needing that long-term anticoagulation therapy. So we're really excited to be able to offer this in addition to many other great clinical services here at Los Robles.
Very literally near and dear to my heart, I have to tell you. I think that's so exciting. I'm just gonna, the little fun fact for me, I got to witness that yesterday. I got to be in the OR with our team, and just there wasn't a dry. It was really cool. It was just a really cool experience. And then talking with the patient afterwards, and like you said, was home for dinner with his family, and it's a game changer. That's pretty exciting. That's great. Thank you, Dr. Sherman. Dr. Gunn, we're going to switch over to you now. We know people are fearful of COVID, obviously, and they should be. But talk about how that plays into telemedicine, how with relationship to well care and regular appointments. How does that all play?
Yeah.
And then also, emergent care, when it becomes emergent over a telemed experience. Talk to us about that.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I mean, we had probably around 2-3 weeks, maybe at the very start of all this, where everyone was in panic mode. No one wanted to come in, for good reason. Nobody knew what to expect. Was this something that's really going to hit us like a ton of bricks, or, it's an unknown. So a lot of people put things off that they had been putting on the calendar, whether it's colonoscopies or blood pressure checks or whatnot. And for a little bit of time, that's fine. We have had a few patients who've come back in, and now they have medical issues that are not controlled. So, that just brings home the point of the fact that you can't necessarily run from your medical problems.
Right.
And so we do telemedicine, whether it's telephone or video phone, and it's a great alternative, especially for elderly folks or people with compromised immune systems. They may want to go to the doctor, but they want to be safe. So, how do you bridge that divide? And that's a good option, I think, for some cases. Some things you have to be in the office for. And so obviously we've gone to great lengths to make sure everything is as safe as it can be, masks and hand hygiene and all that kind of stuff.
So that being said, beyond COVID, what do you think are the greatest concerns, or where do you feel that there's a greatest risk right now for your patients?
Well, I mean, look, just because COVID's out there doesn't mean you can't get sick with something else.
Right.
And so, just a couple weeks ago, my wife and I were at Los Robles Hospital because our son fell out of the crib, and so bonked his head, and we had a great experience. It was super clean over there at the hospital, by the way. Gabriella, you're doing a great job. And so, those are the kinds of things. Accidents happen. People get cuts. People have broken finger. I saw a broken toe the other day. Some guy was trying to work out at the gym, and accidents happen. So those kinds of things you don't necessarily want to put off. But even the chronic conditions, diabetes, high blood pressure, asthma, allergy season, all those things. I would just encourage people to listen to their gut. If they feel like something's not right, or they want to check in with me or another doctor, then they should do that. And if we're not available, urgent care is always there, but don't put yourself last. At this point, we need everybody to be 100%.
So true. So true. Well, I'm glad that we were there for you when you needed us. I'm glad that the little man is okay. And as someone who broke many, many toes, I didn't know my personality was actually located in my feet. Definitely sucks. So thank you for your wise advice and kind words. Great information for all of us. Let's take a short break for some music. Take a deep breath. Our music director, Paul Piazza, who you met earlier in the show, is going to introduce our guest artist today, pianist Jason Stoll. Paul, what can you tell us about Jason today?
Well, Jason Stoll is one of the finest concert pianists in town. He's a dedicated professor of music at Cal State Northridge and an all-around just wonderful human being. He and I became acquainted when I was the conductor of the Westlake Village Symphony, where he was an audience favorite. We engaged him to solo with us multiple times because he's just too darn good of a musician not to have on a concert season somewhere. He's won multiple awards in international competition and maintains a busy schedule as a performer throughout the U.S., plays all styles from pop to classical, symphonic concerto repertoire, and it goes on and on how amazing of a musician he is. So I'm very excited for you to hear Jason's playing today. You heard a little bit earlier, and thank you so much again for having him on the show. He's absolutely fantastic. Can't wait for you to enjoy. Let's bring up Jason.
Hello.
There he is.
How's everybody doing?
Handsome and talented.
Jason, can you tell us about the piece that we're going to hear? I think we've got Rachmaninoff first.
Sure. Well, we had a little snippet of it in the beginning. Rachmaninoff is actually one of my favorite composers, partially because his music is just, if I can describe it in a one phrase, it's larger than life. He has a lot of layers to his music. There's a lot of things going on the right hand and some bass lines in the left hand, and then maybe there's a cello voice happening in the middle. Very, very symphonic writing. The piece that we're about to hear, the Prelude in B flat major, is a really, really powerful piece. There's a lot of great moments, a lot of great tunes. Normally, when we think of Preludes by Rachmaninoff, the one that comes to mind is the really, really famous C sharp minor prelude that he wrote when he was about 19 years old. And it's funny that for him, he actually grew very, very tired of the piece because it got a lot of play, and for good reason. It's a great piece, but when you're asked constantly to play that particular prelude, he's like, well, I got other things, and he actually preferred his other works.
So he wrote this one as a bigger showstopper to take that place, hopefully, over time. Well, we're going to hear it right. We're going to hear it right now. Jason and I got together a little bit earlier in the week to record this, so let's roll the Rachmaninoff and hear it in action.
Bravo. Jason, that was
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I love the video montage too.
Yeah, and I think Paul did a fantastic job with that.
Oh my
I'd also like to point out that there are elements of bells. I don't know if you heard that in the piece, but Rachmaninoff was a big fan of church bells. So it has that kind of sweeping feel. So
yeah, very much so. Just beautiful. Thank you. Awesome. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, do we have another sponsor that wants to say a few words here and thank us? Coming in? Did I catch that or did I get that wrong? No? We're trying. I'm in. Gotta love technology, right?
There's a question we have.
Oh.
The question will come at the end.
Got it. Got it. We're gonna do it at the end. Got it. Okay, so we're gonna go on now. We're back to the show. Let's pick up our conversation with the Dr. Ryan Beale. Ryan, you mentioned earlier that you started out, Dyve, really the initiative was with gout. Talk a little bit about gout for people that don't know about gout and how you feel this is going to be a part of the solution.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. So gout is a type of arthritis that typically affects one of the most commonly affected joints is your big toe. So you mentioned earlier personality is down in your toes. If you had gout, it would be very, very painful. But gout is caused by monosodium urate crystals in the joint space and essentially salt crystals. And your joints, should be nice and smooth and well lubricated. But when you have these salt crystals in the joint space, it's extremely painful. That crystallization, it turns out, is very sensitive to acidity. And what we figured out is a way to alkalize or deacidify the joint space. And by doing that, essentially dissolve the crystals. And we can, since we're going through the skin directly into the joint space, we can do it very quickly. And so, typically a gout attack can last days, 2 to 5 days is fairly common. And in our initial human trial, we saw results as quickly as 15 to 30 minutes in a number of people. And so it's a real game changer for folks that deal with the pain of gout, and we're quite excited. For us, it was a great proof of concept to show how we could use our science to deliver drugs in a new way and bypass the gut and really impact a local area. And we're excited. So it's a nice proof of concept for us, and we're looking forward to seeing where else it goes from there.
We are excited too. That's awesome. And like you said, a game changer, because I've known people about it, and it's extremely painful and debilitating. So awesome. Good to hear. Can't wait to hear more. Sounds good. Let's go back to Dr. Gabriella Sherman. Dr. Sherman, I know that we had to put off due to COVID some initiatives that we had scheduled earlier this year at Los Robles, but I'm very excited to be introducing a teaching program in 2021. Tell us how you see this shaping the future of healthcare in our community and at Los Robles.
Yes, Amy, I am so excited about launching our very first residency program here. We're gearing up for interviews now. We'll be beginning with our internal medicine residency program with plans to expand very quickly thereafter. We are already planning for surgery and emergency medicine. Really, the sky's the limit. And I'm so excited because I think it's going to change the culture at Los Robles. It's really going to put us on the map as not just a community hospital, but really that regional destination for care. It brings an academic environment, scholarly activity, research, really recruiting top-notch physicians to our area. And also, really importantly, it's going to be a feeder of physicians for our community for many years to come. So I think it's wonderful. I can't wait to meet our first group of residents next July.
I agree. I'm super excited about it. We've been talking about it for a while. So this is a first in our community, and it's going to be great. More eyes on the patient, which I think is really good for patient outcomes as well. Thank you, Dr. Sherman. I appreciate it. Dr. Gunn, just talking about internal medicine that Dr. Sherman mentioned, the focus of your business is family medicine. Tell us for the layman, what differentiates internal medicine from family medicine? I think some people get that mixed up. And
yeah, I mean, for many people, there's not a big difference. I trained in a family medicine program where it's full spectrum. It's sort of think about the old time docs who do a little bit of everything. Today there's a lot of focus on specialization, and certainly many people have complex cases that require specialist consultation for optimum management. But for many people, they don't necessarily want to go to see a specialist for everything. I had one patient a couple months ago came and had 10 different specialists they've been seeing. And, that's a little onerous. It gets to be a bit much. So for family medicine, that's where we like to try and set ourselves apart. One-stop shop, if you will. We can deal with a multitude of issues. And with no offense to my internist colleagues in the audience or on the panel today, everybody has a different flavor. And so obviously I'm a little personable, and we like to try and meet the patient where they're at, whether it's a husband and a wife coming in together, or a father and the teenage son, or whatnot. And so we sort of address the whole family. And in that case, the left hand and the right hand knows what's doing. I have a lot of patients who husband and wife come in together, and of course the wife tells me the husband can't hear, the husband tells me the wife, etc. So there's a role for that, and for some people that's what they really prefer. I don't want to get into too much about the training differences. I have delivered babies, for example, and I don't believe internists get to do that type of thing. Pediatricians focus only on little kids and teenagers, and I do that as well. So, but that's sort of a first blush, if you will.
Nice. And of course, with telemedicine, and now in a COVID time, you are making house calls, right?
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it, Amy. In a way, we are doing house calls. Yeah.
You would attest that couples that get their colonoscopies together stay together. You love it? No?
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. I love it. Hey, colonoscopy, you know what? The thing about colonoscopy, it's not so bad. No. It's just the prep. If anyone's had a colonoscopy, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Personally, I had a great nap after mine, so I don't mind it so much. But that's enough about colonoscopies.
You know what? I will. You know what? The peace of mind is worth everything. And everyone's doing cleansing anyway. So awesome. Thank you for that. So Dr. Beal, let's go back to you. Dr. Ryan Beale. You were at McKinsey and now the CEO of Dyve. Not a typical path for a doctor. Tell us about your path and maybe what's next for Dyve. You talked about it a little bit. Dive into it a little bit more for us. No pun intended.
I didn't anticipate following up on a discussion on colonoscopies, so this is a good segue. My path was definitely an unusual one, but for me it made sense. I was always very much a scientist at heart and loved medicine, but was also very intrigued more broadly outside of just delivery of patient care and on the development side of drugs and medical devices. And so after medical school, I pursued an early career at McKinsey & Company and was a member of their biotechnology and medical device practice. And that really exposed me to the business side of medicine and industry, which really fueled kind of my entrepreneurial spirit, which led to, my second career as an entrepreneur in the Thousand Oaks area. So it's been an interesting path, but always am leveraging my science background and medical background as we think through not only developing great drugs, but how are they going to be used clinically and what are the implications for patients. So what's next for us? I mean, we're excited about all the different potential applications of our science outside of gout. As I mentioned earlier, that's a nice proof of concept for us, but the real power of our science is how we can take a broad set of drugs through the skin and improve the delivery and patient experience. So we have some very interesting early programs in immunology and rheumatology, oncology, with the core goal of just delivering medicines and drugs more efficiently and improving, the patient experience and patient outcomes, and doing it with a lower adverse event profile and just improving the overall patient experience. So we're excited.
We are too. Like I like to say, all the ologies, right? So
all the ologies.
All the ologies. That's great. That's wonderful. We are so grateful that you are keeping your innovations here locally here at in the Thousand Oaks area. And sharing it with the world. Sorry.
It's easy to do. It's such a great ecosystem in the Thousand Oaks area. There's a lot of talent, great community. So it was an easy choice to make.
We know why we live and work here. It is sacred, very much so. Yeah. Very much so. Speaking of keeping it sacred and keeping it here in town, Dr. Gunn, tell us a little bit about the new UCLA office. We know there are offices on La Venta, Moody Court, and I know that you're relocating your practice. Tell me a little bit more about the new office that you're going to be opening up and its location, and maybe the colleagues that will be joining you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that plug, Amy. Actually, I'm super excited. My wife and I have been living here in Westlake for 5 years or so, and my wife was at Moody Court. And I'm sure some of the folks in the audience have been there. Great facility. Of course, La Venta over in Westlake is also a great facility too. And every office has a different mix and match of specialties and primaries. We have to have another third office now. It's on Triunfo Canyon at Hampshire. And it's great. It's a big facility We have 4 primary doctors there. We have half a dozen specialists of a variety of different disciplines. So it looks to be like it's going to be a very nice office. I just was talking to one of the pediatricians over in the La Venta office who said the lab over there is a little full, and now we've got essentially 3 labs in this new Triunfo office. So that's going to help a lot too. So it's great. I'm very happy. My commute has gone down from about 45 minutes to 4.5 minutes. So very excited about that. I hope I can be there for a long time.
That's awesome. Well, I can certainly appreciate that as someone who commuted, spent quality time with myself on the 405. It's no fun. Don't recommend it. It's not good for your health. So we're glad to welcome you and closer to your family as well. That's great. Thanks for the update. We're going to take another break and talk about music a little bit more. First, I want to ask Jason, though, what is your life like as a professional musician and a professor of music at CSUN during a COVID age? What is that like?
Well, it's been very, very interesting. Once COVID hit, it really completely wiped away all my upcoming engagements. I was actually really excited to play in several cities. But that being said, the teaching actually went on online at CSUN. So I was fortunate enough to still meet with my students online, despite the fact that the sound quality wasn't very good, but we made do. And we're still going to be online in the fall. So we still have to make those kinds of adjustments to see what's effective and what platforms work. So it's been interesting.
It's been interesting, but I will tell you also, I am so in awe of how creative you have been. I'm sure you've seen on YouTube and TikTok and some of the other, platforms, just the creativity of musicians coming together, whether it's Kimmel,
Right.
Fallon, what have you, everybody coming together. It's beautiful. And I know that y'all are doing the same thing. So that's pretty awesome. What are we going to hear next?
So we're going to hear a piece by Chopin. This is the Revolutionary Etude. It's a really, really, really famous piece. Just really quickly, the word etude is actually means study. So normally when we think of study, we think of scales, we think of arpeggio, something to develop your technique. And Chopin was sort of the godfather of combining the elements of technique and a concert piece. So he was the godfather of the concert etude, so to speak. So this is one of his most beloved pieces, and it really showcases the left hand.
Nice. Thank you, Jason. That was beautiful. Another gorgeous performance. You are one talented soul. Thanks for sharing your gifts with us. I should have stuck with the lessons, you know.
It's a lot of work, and it definitely takes a lot of dedication.
Yeah, well, you do it well. So thanks for sharing with us today. We're going to hear more from Jason a little bit later in the show, closer to the end. So stay tuned. We're going to go back to our panelists quickly. Dr. Beal, any fun fact we should know about you? A little something that you want to share with us today?
Oh, let's see. Yeah, I guess I have to be careful with the audience, which fun fact I reveal. But I'll just build on what we just listened to and Jason. I'm not a musician, but I love the creative process, and whether it's music or art, that's always been a big part of my life. And so my fun fact is I'm a oil painter as well, and a studio artist, and that's my creative outlet.
I'm a very talented one at that. I've had the good fortune of seeing some of your gifts. It's working simultaneously. All right, thanks, Dr. Beal. Dr. Sherman, any fun fact you want us to know about you? You bright soul, you.
Sure, Amy. So I attended undergrad in medical school in Virginia, and I finished undergraduate a semester early, so I had some time off. And during that time, I actually became a board certified chemistry teacher for a high school in Richmond, Virginia. And I was 19 years old at the time.
Unbelievable. Savant.
It was a lot of fun. It was great.
I'm sure for your students, it was fun too.
I still keep in touch with many of them to this day. So it was a great experience.
Cool. I'm glad that whole chemistry thing worked out for you in your career. Very cool. Thank you. Dr. Gunn, fun fact?
Well, while we're sticking with the music theme, I would be remiss if I didn't say I have a Master's of Fine Arts in music, University of Oregon and Mills College alumni. I was a clarinet performance major. And unlike Jason, I did not have the dedication to stay in a practice room for 8 hours a day. So I gave it up in favor of composing. But yeah, it's great. I want to give another shout out to Jason Stahl, because that was amazing performance. I was so happy to hear that. So I want to see him again. He was great.
Well, we're going to give you a chance to do that. Thank you, Dr. Gunn. We're going to bring in Jason again. Jason's got an album that he's going to be coming out with, Ace Trio. Tell us about the album, how we can learn more about it, how we can get it. And like Dr. Gunn said, we want to hear more of it.
Well, that's interesting. Dr. Gunn plays clarinet, because in my trio, we're actually flute, clarinet, and piano. And our debut album is actually the Four Seasons of Buenos Aires by Piazzolla, the famous tango composer of Argentina. So you could find that on Spotify, and I believe on all other streaming platforms. As far as my solo stuff, you can find me at jasonstollpiano.com. I also have a ton of videos on YouTube. There's also other listening things on my website. And yeah, that's what I got.
Well, we're going to take it. Hopefully all of y'all got that, wrote it down. And we hope to, again, we knew you when, right? You're next. That's awesome. Congratulations. And for those of you who want to help these artists as they're struggling through their career, we've got a tip jar, a digital tip jar. Benjamins are welcome. 100% of the proceeds goes directly to our musical entertainment each week to keep the arts alive. And I'll tell you what, right now during a pandemic time, music is everything. I don't know about you, but I'm relying on it morning, noon, and nightly. It is literally medicine for all of our souls. So, and the information is on the screen below. That you'll see on the banner there. So I think that's a wrap. Thanks for being here. Please join us next Thursday. Join us every Thursday. We're going to be doing this 4 at 4 forum. Very fun. You can see the upcoming programs that are going to be coming up in the next few weeks at peoplemedia.live. That's peoplemedia.live. Next week, we're pleased to welcome Food Chair CEO Monica White, another good friend, to 4 at 4 forum. And Monica will be interviewing some of the top chefs and restaurant owners in the area. So that'll be pretty exciting. So with that being said, we were going to bid you a healthy day. Take care of each other. We hope to see you soon and often. Be smart, be safe, be well. And Jason, take us away. Enjoy the music.
Amy, we're going to jump into one question before we finish with our music. We actually have two questions from the audience here. And the first one, can you see it on your screen there?
I cannot, but that's because
Okay, I'll ask it here. It's what is the difference right now? This is what is the difference right now for seniors between having a caregiver provide care for them at home or living in an assisted living facility? So that's the question. And we're actually going to ask that to Dwight Brown. Dwight is able to answer that for us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. That's a great question. The difference between having a caregiver and at home and being in an assisted living facility has always been that being at home, you have the comforts of home, you've been there for years, you get care in the place that you're comfortable as a senior. That has changed with COVID-19 significantly in that now in a facility, your level of exposure to COVID is much higher at a facility. The facilities are working very, very hard. I give them a lot of credit. They're working really double time and overtime all the time trying to staff. But then on top of what they were doing before, they're now having to protect from exposure where a caregiver comes into the facility or a senior that was out and traveling comes in. It passes then from one staff member to another staff member, then to multiple seniors at the facility. So it's a lot of people at high risk in close proximity. For those of my clients that are getting care at home from a caregiver, the exposure is much, much lower. They have one person on a regular basis coming in and out of their house, taking all of the precautions. So their chances of exposure from high-risk person to high-risk person are greatly reduced. In addition to that, I'm hearing a lot that the seniors at the facilities have been completely locked down. No community meals anymore. Their regular habits have been completely disrupted. So they're living in a very small place for now months on end where they can't go out. Whereas the seniors that are with a caregiver, the caregiver is allowed to take them outside for a walk, not expose them to other people. They're in a comfortable and familiar environment. So generally and honestly, the quality of life for seniors getting home care now is probably even more enhanced over assisted living than it was before. Great question. Thank you for asking, Amy.
We're so lucky
to have one more question.
Okay, one more.
This question is for Dr. Sherman, and then we'll finish with our music. Dr. Sherman, how is the hospital using artificial intelligence to guide the decision-making process to optimize the ventilator treatment during this time of COVID? Doctor, we'll bring you up now.
Yes, thank you. We have learned so much about ventilators in this time of COVID. As you can imagine, we've had to be on a very quick learning curve here and just nationally. And we've collected a lot of data, and in partnership with our parent company, we've developed algorithms that support optimization of ventilators. So what that means is that when patients are on ventilators, algorithms are working in the background and have artificial intelligence built in that can monitor if a patient needs an adjustment to their pressure setting or to their volume setting, so we can make sure that they're getting the very best care. And this translates beyond just COVID for any patients that are on ventilators.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great content, great questions. I love that's really cool. It means we have a very robust audience, an engaged audience. That's very cool. So thank you. So again, please join us in the future. Hopefully these will just continue to reach you, and we're happy to bring all this local talent from our community out through our 4 at 4 forum. So again, you can find future upcoming programs at peoplemedia.live, and we hope that you'll join us every Thursday 4 at 4. We're going to now have Jason take us away to our finale, to George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, performed by the one and only Jason Stoll. Stick around and enjoy. Y'all be safe.